What would you do if you found out that you were a robot?
Can art do anything helpful in the face of tragedy?
What if everyone in the world shared a single mind, except you?
Welcome to Philosophy Talk, the program that questions everything.
Except your intelligence. I'm Josh Landy.
And I'm Jorah Dannenberg, sitting in for Ray Briggs. And we're coming to you via the studios of KALW, San Francisco Bay Area.
Continuing conversations that begin at Philosopher's Corner on the Stanford campus, where I teach philosophy.
And at Brandeis University, where I teach philosophy.
Jorah and I sometimes teach a class on film and philosophy, and we're even scheming about doing a book together. So I'm overjoyed he's joining me this year to celebrate the most philosophically compelling films of 2025. It's the Dionysus Awards.
So there were quite a few good movies this past year, Josh.
Yeah, some of my favorites were the Norwegian film Sentimental Value, the Iranian film It Was Just an Accident, and the American film Train Dreams.
In the forest, every least thing's important. It's all threaded together, so you can't tell where one thing ends and another begins if you really look at it.
And there was some pretty amazing television this year, too.
In fact, later on, we're even going to give an award for the best TV show that blows up all your theories of personal identity.
We'll also be giving out an award for Best Tweak on a Classic that raises questions about parents and children.
And, of course, we'll take some nominations from listeners like you who've written to us about other thought-provoking Dionysus-worthy films.
But first, Best Future-Facing Fantasy that questions what makes us human, and whether that's even a good thing.
So we've got two contenders for this award. Companion, written and directed by Drew Hancock, and Mickey 17, directed by Bong Joon-ho, and written by him and Edward Ashton.
You know, Jorah, I really loved Companion. It's a movie with a lot of twists, and we're not going to be able to talk about it without giving a few things away. So avert your ears for a bit if you haven't yet seen it.
So the first major twist in this film has to do with who the character Iris is.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, early on, we're at a lake house with three couples. There's Kat and Sergey, Eli and Patrick, and Josh and Iris. And about 25 minutes in, we learn that Iris is, in fact, a robot.
You're joking, right? This is just a sick.
Iris, what's the weather?
It's currently 72 degrees with an 83% chance of rain in the evening.
Are you still not convinced? Yeah, okay. Let's see. Iris, do you know any foreign languages? Can you speak, say, Spanish?
Josh, no sé hablar español. Okay.
We also learn that Josh, who's human and initially seemed like a pretty nice, normal human guy, is actually a bit of a jerk.
A lot of a jerk.
Totally. Josh exploits Iris, insults her, tortures her, and eventually tries to kill her. Not exactly boyfriend of the year material.
So how do we explain what he's doing wrong? He's clearly doing something wrong, but what is it? I mean, from his point of view, Iris is a machine. She's a bit like his car, which also talks to him. And we don't have any problem with Josh shutting down the car motor when he arrives somewhere, but we feel he's doing something really egregious to Iris.
The plan hasn't changed, Kat. I'm just adding one tiny extra step, just a final farewell, and then I will switch all of our settings back to normal. And then, yeah, I'll shut her down permanently.
And then?
Then nothing. Then we crack open a bottle of champagne and we wait for the cops to show up.
What makes Iris more than a machine? What makes her a person, someone you need to treat with respect and kindness?
So I bet I know what your answer is, Josh.
Well, my answer is that the rationalists are right, people like Immanuel Kant. They said, look, if some being is able to use reason, then that being is a person. And Iris surely uses reason. It's not just that she's smart and can speak any language at the flip of a switch. It's also that we see her deliberating. We see her weighing up her options.
All you gotta do is backtrack through the woods, get to the lake house without Josh or his friends murdering you, and you're home free.
Kant would say she has reason, so she's a person. So you can't just treat her like a machine.
I mean, what makes me confident that Iris deserves better than what she's getting is not that she has a brain, it's that she clearly has a heart. I'm seeing your Kant and I'm raising you Adam Smith and David Hume and the rest of the sentimentalist tradition. I mean, forget reason. All that matters is whether you have feeling. If you feel pain and you feel other complicated human emotions, no one has the right to be cruel to you or treat you like you don't matter.
I feel things. Anger, guilt, sadness. I know what pain feels like.
It's programming. It's just a way to make you seem more real. Everything you do, your whole life, is just an imitation of a life.
I still think Kant's right, but either way, it seems like the artificial beings in this movie are on a par with humans. In fact, I'd even go further. I think the artificial beings are better than us.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so what do you mean by that?
Well, the humans we see here, they are spigots of selfishness. They are fountains of falsehoods. But the robots never lie. They don't even lie to themselves. Josh and Eli kind of want to live in fantasy land, but Iris and Patrick, they want something real. Not to mention the fact that they aren't trying to own other people.
That is nicely put, Josh. Actually, Ken Taylor used to say this really insightful thing, that we human beings, what we want is machines that are smart enough to do everything we need, but not so smart or otherwise sophisticated that we actually have to treat them decently. And Ken said this is the same impulse at the origin of slavery. I'm inclined to agree with him about that.
Yeah, and it sure seems like Josh treats Iris like a slave. And he thinks that's totally fine. He thinks that's the way it should be because human lives, he says, are worth more than the lives of these machines.
I'm a good guy. I'm decent. What do I have to show for it? A cramped one-bedroom apartment and a robot girlfriend. I don't even own you, for Christ's sakes. You're a fucking rental.
All right, so how about this? Human beings are capable of love.
All human beings? I don't think these characters are capable of love.
I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll grant you that Kat and Sergei are kind of just having fun together, as they say. And it's also pretty clear that whatever it is that Josh feels towards Iris, that ain't love. But what about Eli? Eli sure thinks he's in love with Patrick, and vice versa. Patrick really seems to be in love with Eli in this film.
Baby, you know I would never hurt you, right? You know that I wouldn't treat you the way that Josh treats Iris, right? I know that. I love you so much. And that's fucking insane for me to say that out loud, right? But I do.
But Patrick's a robot, and Eli can order him to do whatever he wants. Isn't love all about reciprocity and being free to feel whatever it is you actually feel?
Maybe, all right. On the other hand, remember what the Pebble says in that fantastic William Blake poem, love seeketh only self to please, to bind another to its delight. Maybe that's what human love really is, after all. Maybe what we're seeing in this film is not so much a distortion of love, but kind of its essence, wanting to control somebody else.
Well, I guess if Blake's Pebble is right, then okay, yeah, maybe Patrick and Eli are just two regular people in love, but if that's true, then I don't want to be a person anymore.
All right, well, let's leave Blake's cynical Pebble theory behind, and maybe we can turn to our other movie, Mickey 17. Hopefully that one's a little bit more cheerful.
I don't know how cheerful it's going to turn out to be. It's a dystopian, futuristic movie where climate change has basically annihilated the Earth and everyone is forced to head out to different planets. And we are following a rather disturbing cult leader who's about to found a colony on planet Niflheim. And aboard his rocket is a man named Mickey.
There was this one time in my 4th grade science class, I messed with a lab frog. I just figured this all must be my punishment.
So Mickey in this film is what they call an expendable, or what we like to call adjunct faculty. He gets sent into dangerous situations, exposed to toxic gases, and anytime he dies, they just make another clone of him. Hence the title of the movie. The Mickey we're actually seeing in this film, he's the 17th version of himself.
And things get even more interesting when something goes wrong.
Maybe we should issue another spoiler warning here, Josh.
Agreed. Spoilers ahead. Okay, so Mickey gets into trouble and they think he's dead, so they make a new clone.
Mickey 18.
Mickey 18, right. But Mickey 17 isn't dead, and now there are two Mickeys running around, and mayhem ensues.
Why aren't you dead?
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. No. 18? They printed you out today?
What the fuck is going on? According to Timo, you should be sliding out of one of those creepers' assholes right about now.
You have to put it like that.
So you can see why this movie is going to be catnip for philosophers. What does that do to questions of identity? Like, which one of these two is the real Mickey?
That's exactly the kind of question Derek Parfit asked back in 1971. He said, basically, imagine a guy who gets cloned and then dies. Let's call this fella Bob. Right? The clone is exactly like him, looks like him, acts like him, has all his memories. Should we say the clone is Bob?
Sure, why not?
Okay, but now imagine something goes wrong and you end up with two clones by mistake. Which one is Bob?
I don't know. I guess maybe neither one of them is. I mean, you can't have two people that are not identical to one another, but are each somehow identical to a third person? That doesn't seem to make any sense.
Okay, that sounds like a tempting answer, but now imagine a third scenario. Here you try to clone two Bobs, but one of them dies and you're left with just one guy. Who is he?
I mean, I want to say that this guy is Bob. He's identical to the original dude, and there's no one else around to kind of challenge him for the title of Bob. On the other hand, they were trying to make two of them, and they just failed, so that doesn't sound right. I feel kind of trapped.
Exactly. Parfit's going to say, how come you get to be Bob only if somebody else dies? It doesn't make any sense.
So what should we say? Who is the real Bob in this situation?
Parfit says we don't know.
Oh, great. So if Bob owes me $5, I'm just not getting it back.
I don't know about that, Jorah. But the fact that we don't know, Parfit says, shows that we shouldn't care. The thing that really matters is being like Bob, not being the same as Bob.
Okay, I see. So each of these guys is like Bob, and each can owe me $2.50.
Human printing is a sin. Multiples are Satan's work. However, I've been contemplating how can we use this abomination for our common economic benefit.
I mean, in a way, I see this, right? Like, Mickey doesn't mind being killed in all kinds of gruesome ways. He talks about it in terms of dying, but he's very kind of easygoing about it. What he hates is the thought of not getting cloned after he dies. Now, there's a scene where Mickey 18 wants to kill him, and Mickey 17 gets pretty upset about that.
Until now, I died and I was just born again, you know? It felt like it was me continuing on. But now, once I die, it'll be over for me. It'll be you living on. You get what I mean?
So there's a question there, like, why is he so upset? I mean, why isn't it good enough for Mickey 17 to live on in Mickey 18?
So this is another aspect of the puzzle that we've been kind of kicking around here. And in fact, I think things get even more complicated in this film when love enters into the picture.
This is mild Mickey. And this is habanero Mickey.
So Mickey 18, he kind of takes a little bit of a shine to Mickey 17's girlfriend, and Mickey 17 isn't so happy about that.
And that raises all kinds of moral questions. I mean, if my clone is me, can he steal my partner?
And what about the partner? I mean, is she cheating on me with my clone, or is this some weird way of being faithful to one mega being made up out of the two different bodies, me and my clone, that are somehow one person?
Mickey is not some cookie you can split in half. 17 and 18 are both Mickey. Both my Mickey.
These are great questions, and Mickey 17 raises even more of them. Like, what happens if a criminal clones himself so he can give himself an alibi for heinous crimes?
Are they accomplices, or did one act under the other's orders? Are these separate and independent crimes, or were they one person from the get-go? They only get half portions in jail, or they get a full meal each?
That's part of what I love about both of these films, actually. They do what the best thought experiments in philosophy do. They set your mind in motion, but then they make you think for yourself.
Police, legal experts, philosophers, everyone was stumped.
Okay, so we got two terrific films in front of us, Mickey 17 and Companion. Which one should win the Dionysus Award?
You know, Josh, this one is a close call for me, but at the end of the day, I think I got to go with Mickey 17. I just found this movie more enjoyable on the whole, but also kind of harder to think through as a philosopher. I found myself really puzzled about these questions about personal identity we were just talking about.
I'm with you, I have to say. So, the 2026 Dionysus Award for Best Future-Facing Fantasy that questions what makes us human goes to
Mickey 17.
How many times is this? You're Mickey 16?
17. Jerk.